I'm not just regular mom. I'm a cool mom.
I'm a cool mom. Yeah.
Why are we still rolling?
Nice. No introduction.
Let's jump right in. So this time we're gonna talk about, do you think culture affects your confidence
Why, yes.
as a third culture person?
Right. And how do we think confidence is different in different cultures?
What is confidence?
And how do we mix it all together as third culture people?
I think that's like one thing is like, in Asia it's based on humanity and you have to stay humble, blend in, be a team player in a way that having too much confidence is a bad thing. Versus in the States, it is celebrated to have a sense of confidence. It is celebrated to have your own voice or your strong presence. And even when people are perceived prideful there or over here in Asia, somehow they're still being celebrated because I own up to my attitude type of mentality is there. So yeah, culturally, I think that's how I see the difference and the level with your cheeses, not cheeses.
I'm really hungry.
What about you? Like, how do you view this word from different cultures or like personally experience?
To be honest, it's been the word confidence is very a touchy subject because when you're a third culture or when you're immigrating or an expat and you're transitioning between cultures, you're always in a position of being new somewhere. And when you're new somewhere, that's a culture, workplace, whatever, you always have to come in with a humble attitude. So if you're overconfident, then people will like look down on you and be like, oh, this person doesn't know what the fuck they're talking about, blah, blah. To me, confidence is something that is, like, I've worked really hard to get that confidence that I currently have.
Yeah.
But also it's not appreciated in various other cultures or situations, depending on the context as well.
Yeah.
Workplace, social, whatever, sports, I don't know. Sorry, that was like a rambling of not making sense.
No, I think it makes sense, but I feel like that's like one, I don't want to say misinterpretation of confidence, but in general, how people see it is like, it's always like confidence is more about a validation from others, when in fact it should be from within, right? I think that's why, and that's what I learned after I moved to the States, is that it has nothing to do with how people view you, but how you view yourself. But we were taught in some way, shape, or forms that confidence is fully relied on how other people perceived you. But I think that's when it turned into pride. And versus like in the States, I started to learn that you kind of mentioned a little bit that confidence is you start to build it up within.
When I think about confidence, I think about like people that I interact with that are not confident versus confident. I would rather interact with people who are confident because when I interact with people who are not confident, then I'm always trying to make sure that they're okay because I know that they're internally trying to like show that they're always trying, because they're not confident, they're always like playing to please other people. Or like you don't see the true selves in them because they're not as confident, I guess.
Do you think that kind of that side of you changes as you move around from different cultures to different culture? Like, do you feel like, let's say now we're in Japan. Japan is like a big hub of people that are more introverted and they don't really want to be vocal or obvious. Even if they have a sense of confidence, they don't want to talk about it. Like, do you feel like your sense of I want to help those who lack confidence grow stronger than when you're in a Western
It's
country?
a very interesting topic, especially because when you're trying to mentor or manage other people in the workplace, for example, and I think a lot of this like topic is very relevant for workplaces.
Vocal fry.
Is that when people are not confident when they're starting out, you want to encourage them to be more confident so that they can get shit done. So you're thinking about it from like a practical point of view. But in Japan, I think showing confidence is seen as kind of a bad thing. It's like, oh, this person is too confident. They're not humble enough.
Yeah.
Whereas in North America, it's seen as like you have to be confident to make it somewhere.
Yeah.
And so that's kind of, and I'm sure there's so many different other examples of cultures as well where, you know, various confidence levels affect like how you're in the workplace, how you're individually, what you're supposed to be like, what's your confidence you're supposed to have.
Yeah, yeah. I think that's why it reminds me of this phrase, humble brag.
I do humble brag all the time.
You give us some example.
I don't know, just in terms of like saying how, oh, someone at work gave me this like huge compliment, but I didn't know how to react to it, and like saying that story to a friend is kind of like a humble brag in itself, because you're essentially bragging about you getting this praise or you doing something good, and then you're framing it in a story where, oh, but like, I didn't think I was that good, but obviously someone else did, to like this external person. And then it's kind of like a humble brag, and this external person is probably just like looking at me being like, all right.
Yeah, we get it. We get it. You're good. We get it.
Yeah.
Yeah. And that's such a... It's interesting that that phrase is used in Western culture, while in Asia it happens all the time, because you're not supposed to brag about yourself. You're not supposed to celebrate your accomplishment.
Maybe
openly.
the humble brag is more obvious in English. And
Yeah.
not so obvious in like Japanese, for example.
You think so?
I don't know. I don't know if I've ever encountered like a Japanese person humble brag to me.
Can I express my take
Yes,
on
tell me more.
everyday in your face humble brag within the culture is whenever you compliment on someone's work, and then they would say, no, I'm really not that good. I'm really not that good.
But that's one thing in this culture. So, you know how there's this huge push in Western culture to accept compliments.
Yes.
Right? So if someone compliments you, you're supposed to be like, thank you.
Yeah.
I worked really hard to do this.
I deserve this compliment almost.
And so internally also, you want to acknowledge that you worked hard to get there. And you should be proud of it.
Yeah.
But in a lot of Asian culture, it hasn't evolved to that point yet.
Yeah.
Where if you get complimented, actually, if you say thank you, it's seen as it's a faux pas. Like you cannot.
Yeah, it's like then you're arrogant. Then you're
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 cocky
asshole.
motherfucker.
Yeah.
Like
I
get
know.
the fuck out of here with your foreign ass mindset about like, confidence.
And I think that's when, personally, my Asian root came out. I never know how to take a compliment. In the, back in the States, even now.
Yeah.
Like, for example, the other day, I posted this selfie. I'm like really camera shy when it comes to selfies, but I try to practice. Like,
But you're so beautiful. You should get your tits out a little bit more.
There's none. So I posted one photo, so my friend was like, oh, you actually look really good without makeup. And
Wait, you actually look really good? Sorry, I'm picking this apart.
Yeah, not the point.
What were
she was making a really like sincere compliment. No ill intention at all. But instead of saying thank you, I said, oh, it's because of the lighting, or it's because there's a filter.
But
like
I say thank you.
I just couldn't say
thank you. I was born this way.
Thank you. Like, and even, sometimes I will jokingly be like, I know, like, I am so-and-so. That's usually when I'm joking, right? Yeah. But if I receive a very sincere compliment, I had no idea how to like, receive it properly and be like, show how grateful I am to receive that compliment. I always say things like, it's the lighting, it's the angle, it's, you know.
Because that's what you're supposed to do.
Yeah, and that's when I know that, oh, my ancestors like so heart-rooted in my blood still.
Yeah. That is the Asian way.
That is the Asian way.
Never accept compliments. Don't accept compliments.
Yeah.
Be humble.
But yeah.
It's not you, it's the external factors.
It really is not, though.
It's not,
yeah.
It's not, it is you. It is you.
It is you. It is you.
Flip-flop really
it is
quick
you.
there.
Yeah. But I think that's like that whole conversation goes back to the how it affects our confidence in different culture.
Yes. So yeah, here, like when someone pays me a like actually, I had an instance the other day when something happened. Like, oh, like you're really good at presentations, and like multiple people are. This is gonna sound very humble braggy.
multiple people.
No, because we're like sitting in a team meeting and they're like, oh yeah, you did this great, and this other person's like, oh yeah, that would really like blah blah, and like there's like 3 people telling me it, and I just sat there and I was like, I'm so sorry, like I don't really know how to like, I'm not really good at taking compliments and like blah blah.
Yeah.
And that sounds very humble braggy, but like, you know, your reaction is like, I don't want to come off as like, oh, of course people are gonna love me, of course, like
yeah.
But also like I practiced so hard for that presentation, you know, like
you do deserve those compliments or those comments.
Yeah, but then when you get them, it's just kind of like, then how do you react?
Yeah, it's been a struggle, right?
Yeah,
I think that's probably like one of the most challenging part of our identity as a third culture, but Asian based third culture.
Yeah,
because
Asian culture is very like, you gotta be humble.
Yeah,
you gotta be one of the team. You can't stick out. You have to. Yeah,
and I feel like because of that very culture, it has like, you know, there's a virtue in the culture that's like, it's so beautiful. It's like very, it is a good thing to stay humble because you want to, again, stay a student.
Yeah.
But when in the States, that's how a lot of, especially Asians, struggle to thrive because they were taught to not take like a compliment when
confident.
And yeah, when they're supposed to, and those little like comments and how you receive it actually matters, actually affects how you build your own confidence.
Yeah.
And then it's not in a prideful way, but it's to be more assured of yourself, to be more like, yes, I am valued this much. Yeah. And then because they were taught not to have that, so it in a workplace they got swallowed by other people.
Yeah.
It's not because they're not capable. It's because they intentionally trying to shrink themselves.
Yeah.
Because
that's the culture, right?
That's the culture.
Shrink. Yeah.
Yeah. And which I witnessed that, and I find it really sad because you recognize all those talents, you recognize all those skill sets, but there's no way you can do to let them know that it is okay to take the compliment. It is okay to recognize your own worth.
And even outside of compliments, to like push for what you feel is correct. And if someone else says anything that's, you know, contradictory, then you're like, okay, yes. And then you just kind of shrink back in again. So
yeah, it's
like the concept of not wanting to stick out, right? What did they say? Like the highest nail gets the hammer or something? Like the nail that sticks out gets the hammer?
Something like that.
Yeah.
We can see the visual of that. Yeah. It's like in Chinese way, they have a saying that if, let's say we're all trees. You as a tree, if you grow so tall and so big, you attract more wind.
But I love this analogy because did you guys know, fun fact, there's a thing called, I think it's called like branch shyness or leaf shyness or tree shyness, where if you look above, if you're in a forest and you look up, you will see that the leaves kind of like coexist with each other. And maybe we'll link some photos. I think it's called branch shyness, where trees will grow all together, but they will never like block each other from light. And it's like to make sure that everyone gets like the same amount of light. And I feel like that applies to like humanity as well. And like maybe that's how like a lot of Asian cultures see it, or a lot of other, you know, particularly humble, not so confident cultures see this. Or where they're like, we're a team, we're a forest. We want to make sure everyone gets the same amount of light.
Yeah.
But then the problem is then if you are in a very dense forest and you all get very little light, right? Like who's gonna be like, let's move over to the southern forest?
Yeah.
Yo, like let's get the seed. Like, hey bird, get your.
Who's gonna be the first tree that set up a new forest? Yeah, and then so I
But
feel
then like North American culture is like everyone's just fighting for the light and like
be the tallest. No, I'm the tallest. Yeah. So I think it's very unique in terms of our experience, because to me I had to have a lot of like practice to be like, yes, Jess, it's okay to reply a simple thank you to a compliment. It is okay to tell yourself that you did this much work, you deserve this kind of.
But that's not normal in Asian cultures also.
No, yeah.
So then that's seen as like abrasive here.
Yeah.
Which is weird.
Yeah. And then I think coming back to Asia, now my personal challenge is how can I keep that mentality of it is okay to receive compliment, it is okay to like validate your own worth in a way that I'm not being perceived as braggy or prideful or like trying to take over the world, I guess.
Okay. There's so many things about confidence that I think is such a hot topic.
Yeah.
I do think, like, if I were to get very specific about Japan, for example, because we both work here.
Yeah.
And a lot of companies hire for people like us who have international experience because they're like, hey, and I hate saying this because, like, they're like, oh, hey, we want someone who can actually, like, lead or who can actually, like, guide people. And I hate the fact that this is, like, a real thing where they don't think, or they don't maybe have that, they don't have the confidence in the local people to have that confidence to lead.
Yeah.
Or, like, put themselves out there because no one wants to stick out. So they hire outside talent to stick out or to, like, be like, oh, we're gonna put ourselves out there so that you guys can follow. You know? It's, like, a weird concept.
Yeah, I recognize that. And I feel like in my position, similar ideas, right? I think we're hired in general to help people think outside the box or to break the social norm at the workplace, and they can start to practice how to see things in different perspective. I think that's one thing I also constantly trying to tell myself, that I used to be in their shoes once upon a time. Even when you're little, the experience is the same thing. How you are programmed culturally it's the same. How can you help them gain confidence in their language? Yeah. I'm not saying like in Japanese, but you know, in their cultural language. And I think that's like one of the reasons why we're here. Because I think there's a difference between just like expats and third culture people, is we get to be this role to have the ability to be relatable to different brackets.
Yeah.
And then finding that happy medium and then to push for that happy medium.
Yeah, because in a way they're looking for someone that is confident, that they can, like align with the vision of, and, like, I don't want to say follow, but it is kind of...
Or just, like, see it as an example, right? Yeah. And I think when it comes to confidence, and I learned that also through different culture, is there's no guideline or like a handbook how to be confident. Confidence means so many different things for people.
I have some tips and tricks on how to be confident.
Fun fact.
I don't know if it's a fun fact, but like because I've been so insecure my whole life because as a third culture kid and moving around a lot, you are so insecure in general because you're always trying to fit in and you never do fit in. And so my trick to being confident is fucking practice, practice, practice. It actually is that. Become a fucking like expert in whatever you're doing.
Yeah.
And then naturally you gain that confidence. You practice and you practice and you practice and then you know that you're doing this thing so well.
Yeah.
When it comes to like, you know, particular subjects at work or like a hobby that you're doing. It's like you spend so much time doing it. And so I don't think there's any short hack or any way to become confident except putting in time to like know your subject or to like be good at what you're doing. And like by that virtue you become confident in the fact that you're doing the right thing.
Yeah.
And that's probably cross-cultural no matter what.
I think so.
But maybe how you display it is different based on the different cultures.
Yeah.
I would love to know your confidence journey. Like, you know, I kind of have the sense, because we spoke about this before, that we came from a very, like, insecure place.
Yes.
So what's your confidence journey? How did you get to where you're at today?
Okay. I'll start from the culture that I was in when I was little. I think in Asia, yes, it's a very, like, humanity-centric culture. However, there's always a sense of competition. A sense of, like, you have to be better than. You are not enough.
Really? Because I thought in Asia it's like kind of like you want to be one of.
But you want to get a higher score. There's always like what place you're in at school matters. Those kind of sense of like competitiveness. Is that a word? Competition. But so a lot of people are programmed to think that they have to constantly compare with other people, and then that really is so damaging to building your own self-confidence.
Right, because your confidence tied to the score.
Yeah, but I think because of my upbringing or how I experienced a really drastic change when I was very little, which was the surgery that I went through.
Right.
Anyway, because of that incident, without going too deep into it, I stopped comparing myself to other people. Like, it's always been, if I do my best, that's enough for me. Mm-hmm. If I try my best, that's enough for me. It has nothing to do with if I'm better than others, if I've done more than others. It's always like a internal like competitive mindset versus external. So I think that's how I built my own confidence, is I stopped looking who's around me and what they are doing, but more like I'm gonna stay focused on my own path.
It's a very healthy way of self-development.
And I think that's what confidence is about. It's never about other people or how they view you or if you're better than other people. Like, we're all on different paths, so how are you gonna say or define who's better than whom? And I think especially when we're going through, you know, constant life or culture reset, we're constantly in the stage of resetting our progress in life, right? Mm-hmm. When people who are still in like monocultural environment, they start from ground up, but they keep building higher and higher.
Like
we constantly have, but we constantly have to be like, oh, we get here and then we have to go down again, and then we have to go back up and then we have to go down again. If that's the route, how are we gonna stay confident in that? Is to stop looking at what other people's, like what paths people are walking, but focus on yourself. No?
Yeah, that's true.
Yeah, so that's how I
What? So you gain your confidence by focusing yourself.
Yeah. That's basically it.
And I guess learning from your environment and stuff like that.
Yeah, but I would say like I wouldn't have the ability to do it without being exposed in different culture either, because if you're only in one culture, you only have one way of thinking or perceive what confidence means and how you can build it. But the things about being multicultural background is you learn viewing things from different perspectives. You know, there's more than one way of doing things. You know, there's more than one way of succeeding, and redefine all the meanings of being successful, being like something's being achievable or not, what is your goal, like all those kind of confidence talk become so different.
Being successful is very different in different cultures as well.
Yeah.
My confidence journey is very, I think it's very different. I left home when I was 17, and then I went to college in Toronto, and that's where I first found a very like multicultural place. And so when you're growing up in a very monocultural place, as a multicultural family or person, it made me so insecure about who I was. And so as soon as I got to this multicultural level, when I was like past my teens, like so past your like developmental era, so to say, and that's when I started to build confidence in that, like, oh shit, like I actually have something to offer. Like all my friends don't care that I'm certain this, and this, because they're all like, you know, they're all from whatever cultures as well. What made me become the most confident, and this is gonna sound very like weird, is athletics. I think there's a lot to be said about like, if you have something in your life that you know you're really good at, and that doesn't have to be sports, it can be like a hobby, it can be even work. Like if you're doing well in like a certain aspect of your life, that comes across in so many other things, like your friendships and your relationships, where you build that confidence. And like for me with cycling physically, I knew, and like I think I spoke about this before, that like it didn't matter about genders or weights or whatever. And cycling is a sport that like, it matters about watts per kilogram and things like that. So it's once I knew that I was really, really good at something, then I knew that like at the end of the day, if something went to shit, that because I knew I could put my body through that stress, that I had the confidence of reacting or solving that problem. And I think it's that like agility of being able to take a problem and solve it, or having that stamina to solve it, or having the stamina to solve it for a very long term, that gave me the confidence that I have today. Because younger me would not have the confidence, even though I was doing like little bits of things here and there, like whatever. I only grew into it after the fact, and I was super insecure when I was younger, moving from different cultures, and I only grew into that confidence in like my mid-20s, and now I'm in my 30s, and like,
it's never too late, and then you never know. I think one thing is confidence is not an end goal.
It's not. It's definitely not. You don't have to be like fucking like a cocky bitch all the time. But I think the message is like, if you know that you can achieve something, which all of you can do, like everyone has this capacity to achieve great things, whether that is in like being an expert at something, whether you love to like read manga, or whether you love to eat fruits, or whether you like love to like walk around your neighborhood and you know all about this neighborhood or whatever, like you know you have this confidence of like being an expert at something, and you know you have the ability to be good at something, and that comes across like to everything, work, social, whatever.
And I think that goes hand in hand with passion. Confidence is less about being best at something but good at something. I think that's two very different things.
It's like being able to apply, it's knowing that you can react to something. And I think this is where Japanese culture is kind of like weird, in the sense that, at least in the workplace, they're so risk adverse. And I think about things in terms of like the agile methodology, where there's a confidence that like you push something out there, you learn from the data, right? And you're confident that if something goes wrong, you can fix it. But in a lot of like waterfall,
Yeah.
and I'm speaking to Japanese culture here,
Yeah.
and I don't mean it to be very specific to that, but like it's very risk adverse. So they
Yeah.
don't even want to think about the fact that there could be something that goes wrong, because how are we going to fix it? It's not in the script,
Yeah.
right? So it's like you have to have all this shit planned beforehand that you output something. But if you're confident in the fact that you can resolve issues as they come up, then you can do more things,
Yeah.
right? Rather than like in the very beginning, if you have to lay out all the use cases, all the fucking like, you know, everything that could go wrong.
The end of
It
the
means that you
day,
don't have confidence in your team to react to things.
the end of the day, we're human, right? Like everything is fluid. You can't really prevent or 100% predict what's gonna happen next. There's always like something unexpected that'll happen. That's life, and I think same goes to having confidence. Are you willing to take the risk, or work culture? In Japan, I feel like it applies to a lot of other Asian cultures. You know, that's also how I grew up. So like, I used to think in that way, right? Putting all the eggs in one basket and then being like, it's not that I hope nothing will go wrong. Is I didn't even have an idea of things will go wrong. So I never risk anything. I never like trying to have a breakthrough in my own challenges, because that's how I was programmed.
Yeah.
And one day something went wrong, right?
Yeah.
All my hopes and dream was to become a ballerina, and that got taken away from me, which I wasn't really expecting that at all. That's like very shattering, mentally, emotionally speaking, but also it had me forced to into this mentality reset, being like, nothing is in my control.
That's true. Nothing is in your control.
Yeah, and I think having that realization is how I start to build my confidence.
Yeah.
In a way.
That you can react, you can like solve issues.
Solve issues, right? So like I think that all kind of goes back to culturally I was educated in one way. It didn't really work out in my case, and I had to force myself to look elsewhere for how can I gain back that confidence that everyone actually always have in yourself. It's just like whether or not you want to communicate with your own inner confidence, I would say. And I think coming back here is the same thing as I want to kind of bring that mindset into our workplace or into my team, saying that you have what it takes.
Yeah.
But you gotta be open to the possibility that you have to face the unexpected.
Yeah.
And if you're willing to do that, things will flow in.
Yeah.
Everything will be okay.
Yeah.
You have that mentality, that's the first layer of confidence right there.
Yeah. Everyone has what it takes. That's why, like, I like when everyone says good luck. I don't like saying good luck.
Yeah.
It's not about luck. It's about the fact that you have what it takes.
You have what it takes, but you can't control the outcome.
Instead of good luck,
yeah,
you have what it takes.
You have what it takes. Just do your best and let go and let blob. You
Let blob. Yeah, because I think everyone understands that there's high and low points of people. You don't always have to be on. You can always, like, yeah, be blob and people will understand. Actually, there's a whole thing about radical candor. Who's the author? Shout out to the author of Radical Candor, which talks about the fact that showing vulnerability is such a good thing. And that's also confidence as well. If you're confident enough to show vulnerability, people relate to you more.
Yeah.
Therefore, they're more empowered to do.
And that's so contradictory, again, going back to the culture, right? In Asia, you are not supposed...
You can't show vulnerability.
You're not supposed to show your vulnerable side. Mm-hmm. But back in the States, it was encouraged. I practiced to show my vulnerability. Like, the last episode, I kind of talked about how I was like bawling and crying in front of camera. Yeah. That was such a scary and naked experience. But I was like, intentionally, I want to push myself to that point to be like, if I have nothing to lose, and this is the worst that could happen, fine.
Yeah.
But in a way, indirectly, that kind of also helped me build my own confidence.
Yeah.
If I already reveal the self that I feel insecure about, to you and then be honest and transparent about that, what else should I be scared of?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I just looked up Radical Candor by Kim Scott. Really good book.
We'll put a reference here.
Actually, one of the things, I actually spoke about Radical Candor to my colleagues when I first started working in Japan, and they were like, oh, it doesn't work in Japan because you can't just tell people how you're feeling. And then I was trying to make a point of like, but why not? Everyone will be better off if everyone had good intentions. Why can't we have Radical Candor?
Yeah.
So that is the whole point of the book, Radical Candor, which I...
Yeah. I'm also going to shout out the book that my coworker wrote. He was like basically celebrating this side of being shameless. Because he mentioned something about you feeling ashamed or embarrassed because you're trying to match a higher self that's not realistic. And then that affects your confidence. So when you're not being able to match that... Shamelessness. Yeah. But it's so important to embrace your so-called less perfect self in order to gain that solid, authentic confidence in you.
Yeah. It's really tough to like operate somewhere where you're trying to put on this face and you can't show imperfections.
Yeah.
Yeah.
The end of the day, what we're trying to say is confidence comes from inner self. You don't have to be perfect to be confident. There's no such things as being perfect.
Well, everyone's fucking imperfect, yeah.
Yeah. We found our confidence through our very confusing third culture journey.
Yeah. But also, like, find something that you love doing, and if you're really, really deep into it and good at it, then that, like, I think that bleeds into so many other things.
Yeah, and again, promoting the give no fuck mentality. Not saying that you don't get affected by how people think of you, but don't make it as the main factor or...
Yeah, because people actually find it refreshing to find people who are confident that are not like them, right? Because, in a way, and that's for me and you and everyone as well, like, you want to learn from other people who are confident.
Yeah.
If everyone's not confident, then you kind of like be wallflowers and like, oh, what are we gonna do? And you like look at each other, what are we gonna do next? And
yeah.
like,
and be willing to risk.
Yeah.
Again, confidence is not an end goal, it's a journey. You're gonna fall on your face and pick yourself back up so many times.
Coming back to agile methodologies is fail often and learn fast. So
it's
when
a
you
practice.
Fail, you learn and you become more confident in the fact that you can deal with failure. I think
because you give less fuck every single time you fail.
Is it time?
It's time!
Is it time for the thought-provoking thought of the day? There's one more. You got it. Do.
You're gonna read it.
Am I? To be is to be perceived. George Berkeley. So tell us what you guys think. Like, what's your confidence journey? Because I'm so curious. Please share with us because we want to know stories and what we're always learning. We always want to know like what is.
Again, drop a comment if you listen from Spotify. Hit the like button and subscribe button.
Drop a comment.
If you watch on YouTube, and also drop a comment on Instagram.
Drop a comment.
Drop a comment. And even DM us.
Drop a comment.
In general, just drop a comment.
Alright. Thanks, guys. Ciao.
Bye.